In the early days of large-scale digital platforms, companies were racing to connect the world faster than ever before. Emails, social networks, online services, and cloud systems were growing at a speed no one had fully prepared for. Security was important, but growth was the priority. At the center of this digital expansion sat massive databases, quietly storing the personal information of millions of users. Names, email addresses, passwords, private data that most people trusted would never be seen by anyone else. What many didn't realize was that these systems were built on layers of outdated software, delayed updates, and weak internal monitoring. The technology looked advanced from the outside, but inside, cracks were slowly forming. One small vulnerability was overlooked, not because it was invisible, but because it was underestimated. There were no alarms, no dramatic warnings, no sudden shutdowns. Instead, access happened silently. Data began moving in ways it wasn't supposed to. Records were copied, information was exposed, and for a long time, no one noticed. This breach didn't happen because of a supercomputer or a futuristic cyber weapon. It happened because basic security practices were ignored. Updates were postponed, systems weren't properly segmented, monitoring tools failed to detect unusual activity. By the time security teams realized something was wrong, the damage had already spread far beyond what anyone expected. Millions of accounts were affected. When the news finally broke, the reaction was immediate. Users were confused, trust collapsed, media headlines spread across the world. People started asking the same question: how could something this big happen without anyone stopping it? The answer was uncomfortable. This wasn't the failure of one person, it was the failure of an entire system. Companies had relied too heavily on old defenses, believing that nothing would go wrong. Security warnings had been ignored. Risks were known, but never treated as urgent. As investigations began, it became clear that this breach wasn't just about stolen data. It was about responsibility. Governments stepped in, regulators demanded answers, new laws were introduced to protect digital privacy. The tech industry was forced to change. Encryption became standard, monitoring improved, cybersecurity teams gained more authority. For the first time, security was no longer an afterthought, it became a priority. This incident changed how the world viewed digital trust. People learned that their online lives were only as safe as the systems protecting them. And companies learned that one small mistake could scale into a global disaster. Today, this incident is remembered not as the story of a hacker, but as a warning. A warning that in the digital world, security failures don't stay small. They grow silently, they spread globally, and once exposed, they change everything.